We're live. We're live.
Chair. Chair said to watch our language.
We're live.
Is our language bad? No, I didn't even notice.
No.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Awesome. Hey, good morning, good morning. This is it's Monday morning, November 26th. This is the Washington Area Highway Transportation. And I'll have a call to order with a roll call.
Mark Wessels, Ed Fisher,
Here.
Judy Wagner,
Here.
Ray Frankenberg,
Here.
Bob Ingerman,
Here.
Bill Stratman,
Here.
Mayor Lucy, Joe Holtmeyer, Danny Cassette,
Here.
L.B. Eckelkamp, Bill Miller,
Here.
Tim Brinker,
Here.
Steve Sullentrop,
He's here.
John Nildress.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning again.
Chairman.
Good morning. Good.
Morning, Bill.
Morning, Sam.
Good job on that.
Sorry, thinking.
Cider
Yes, everyone, I think. What's up?
First item on the agenda, again, is the approval of the minutes from October the 29th. Any comments, questions, changes, additions, subtractions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve the minutes, and I have a second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Mark, where is he? Is he here today? No. Mark's not here? Anything on Amtrak other than the,
I have no report.
you bet, okay. Highway 47, Missouri River Bridge. Heat it up for you.
Bob's got that.
Done yet? Done yet?
To say really, except that it's just exciting as hell.
Yeah, Judy, you might want to
Yes,
expound.
absolutely. Well, we're on schedule for the ribbon cutting ceremony this Saturday, December 1st. Thanks to the mayor and her crew that's been working on planning the day's event. It will start at 7 a.m. with the 5K sponsored by the YMCA. You can go to their website or just call them to register for that 5K. It does start here at the library, and the trail goes across the bridge and back to the library here. The public is invited to be on the bridge from 1 till 5 p.m. on Saturday. The ceremony will begin at 3 o'clock. Hopefully, it will be over by 4 o'clock. The brass band will be playing. The Historical Museum will have some things that were there from the original opening, so public can view. The brass band will be playing. We'll have some greeters with handing out the programs. There'll be a guest book to register your name that you were actually at the opening ceremony. The church will also be providing hot cocoa, water, and cookies, special cookies the mayor's designed.
Oh, no. Bridge cookies.
Yes. So we do encourage everyone to come to the riverfront, however, to park and then take the shuttle buses up to the event. So the path will be consistently running buses along with an ADA accessible bus. So if you need a wheelchair or scooter, any of that stuff, that is accessible from the riverfront. And that will be the safest way to get to the ceremony. So please do that. Of course, everyone at this committee will be getting a special parking pass, but those numbers are limited to park on the bridge. So, and we are encouraging no pets and nothing on wheels, no bicycles, scooters, skateboards, rollerblades, any of that stuff. So please just come on your feet. If you do need assistance, because it is a quarter-mile walk from the bus drop-off to the ceremony location in the middle of the bridge, we will have a couple golf carts to help those that need the help to walk across. The bridge will be completely open, so you can walk across all the way and back. A portion, right now, I'm going to say just a portion of the overlook area will be open so that you can walk across the barrier wall and actually get to go out on the overlook on Saturday. So that'll be exciting. Hopefully, we'll have the entire trail open, but that's still questionable. So we are out there working. We worked Friday, Saturday. We washed the bridge on Friday, sealed it on Saturday. DNS Fence is out there putting up the fence, finishing up the tall railing over the railroad. They're installing the inside cable right now, putting the guardrail at the end, doing the chain link fence. And then we also have our subcontractor out there on the south side of the bridge doing all of the final sidewalk work at between 3rd Street and 1st Street. So temperatures this week are looking really cold, so we've got a lot of precautionary measures. They have heated blankets out there right now to keep the subgrade from freezing so that we will be able to allow them to pour that concrete as soon as possible. If we have to heat the concrete, we will. Because I am at the EMS committee, I do think that people will park at Mercy and walk to the site, so we want to make sure all of that gets finished and is accessible for folks to come out on Saturday. Again, we will have security, so please don't even try to come out until 1 o'clock. Please emphasize that, Greg, if you could. Because we just don't want people around there until we're absolutely ready. The Parks Department is going to be putting stage and chairs. There'll be a lot of setup going on, so there'll be traffic going on off the bridge until that time. So we really encourage folks, don't even come out to look until 1 p.m. And then we'll give them till 5. It's going to be dark about that time anyway, so hopefully they leave willingly. But if not, we'll do a sweep of the whole bridge, and it will be closed then to pedestrians and traffic until the following Monday, December 3rd. And we are looking at potentially moving that up to a daytime switch. We're looking
So
at
you are going to
maybe,
be ready on Monday? Yeah.
knock on wood, Mayor, this is
Okay.
where we're at as of this morning with today's forecast.
Okay.
So we are looking at, the temperatures will be too cold on that Monday night right now, so we're looking at allowing them to do the asphalt work during the day, which means we may split traffic, so we may put southbound on the new bridge and keep northbound on the old bridge while we're doing that tie-in connection to allow it during the day. But we're going to work those details out this week still.
Okay.
Striping will probably happen this Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when this rain moves in and out. That will be the biggest hurdle right now to get over is the striping. The concrete work, everything else, I think we can work around the temperatures. Plant's willing to heat water, so we get hot concrete. So I think we're on schedule for everything to be
When does
done.
the shuttle service start out there at the park?
The shuttle buses leave the riverfront at 1.
Start leaving at 1?
So you can get to the riverfront anytime you want, and then the shuttles will begin at 1. And they'll run I think we have 4 of them, Mayor?
We have 4.
So they'll be going continuous until the end of till everybody's off the bridge.
Probably pick you up at, at Lafayette in front, because the buses really can't come over the bridge.
Right.
So that'll be the bus stop.
Over the railroad crossing.
Over the
Yeah.
railroad.
That was like the bridge, wait.
No, the railroad.
But they will run continuous in case somebody gets cold and wants to get back to their car or something like
Oh,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
When I go for that. So, yes.
Once the
and-
ceremony starts, yeah, I assume they'll still run it.
There'll be a bus at both locations. I think JB was talking about keeping a bus at both locations just in case. But the other thing is the riverfront will have it streamed live on a big screen. And there'll be heaters down there. The Parks Department's putting tarps around the pavilion. So if people do want to still be part of the festivities, they can attend down on the riverfront and just stay down there during the event. And then afterwards, I'll let the mayor go into the after festivities if you'd like.
Oh, well, so when you get back down to the riverfront, then we're having brats and hot dogs and chips and beer and wine and
Hot cocoa.
everything's $1. Anyway,
Hot cocoa.
and hot cocoa and some coffee probably and things like that. And then the evening's going to end with fireworks. So we can't turn on the lights on the bridge. That was our original plan, that we would throw the switch to turn on the lights, but it will end with fireworks. So
Hey,
that'll
Judy.
probably be about 6:45 that evening. So we'll have fireworks.
So don't leave early, Tim.
Yeah.
How will they make the transition when they open up the traffic on the north side of the bridge with that big drop off?
Yeah, that's what we're working on now. There is a grade transition between the new and the old, and we were gonna try to do it at night. We could just shut traffic down for 15 minutes, lay a pass of asphalt. Now we're going to just switch the one side of traffic. So the southbound lanes may go straight onto because right now we have one lane that's at grade. So we will be able to do that with just the southbound. Then that northbound lane will have that. It's got about an 12 and 18 inch drop off right now. then we'll be able to do that into the existing southbound lanes, and then we'll switch the northbound traffic into that lane. And then all the asphalt that's being laid right now, like that has the tie-in, all of that is a temporary asphalt mix. So all of that'll get pulled back out next spring. So at the top 1.75 mix will be removed and replaced. So even if we have the extra extremely cold weather, it's not a permanent mix.
Hell of a
That makes
drop off
sense.
over there.
Yeah, but there is 12 foot that's at grade right now. So that'll allow one lane to be switched on to that new bridge. Whereas before, we were just gonna shut it down and try to do both lanes, but now we may be a little creative there to allow it to go during the day.
Judy, who is the main speaker, that the governor won't be here?
Congressman
Blaine
Lutz-
Luetkemeyer is the highest ranking official that will be here. So our senators are not attending, and so Blaine Luetkemeyer, and then State Senator Dave Schatz, State Representative Bart Corman, Franklin County Presiding Commissioner Tim Brinker, Warren County Commissioner Hubie Kleesner, myself, and then Patrick McKenna at this time. And Bob, we want to add
He
you
just
to the
said
list. Did you say yes? Good. All right, thank you. So, good.
Thank you, Bob.
Who's going to cut the ribbon?
Who cuts the ribbon? There's all kinds of protocol here I was not aware of. I mean, I'm learning about. So the highest ranking official cuts the
And we'll have 3.
So
scissors.
anyway, yeah.
So we're thinking Blaine Luetkemeyer will be 1, but then the county commissioners will share a pair, if you and UB, and then the local city mayors will have the 3rd. So we'll go federal, state, and county, local, kind of.
Are they going to practice? Do they all hit it?
All they need to do is show up and speak, so I'm hoping that, that happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should be good.
And we will have several opportunities for photo ops. So if the ribbon gets cut and then we'd like the city and the county or whoever to come in, again, we can run another ribbon across and do another cutting of any dignitaries that would like to do so. The county commission, if you want to do one, just the 2 counties. The mayors, if the mayors want to do one of their own, we can run extra ribbon across and redo the photo, the actual opportunity for that photo. Also, the 1934 Chevy, right? I'm going to get this wrong.
No, it's a Ford.
It's a Ford.
It's a
It was
Ford.
Modernado's car, I thought. They bought it from Modernado? Anyway, one of the Public Works folks here has got the 1934 vehicle, which was the 3rd vehicle that crossed the bridge in 1936 when the bridge was open. And he did get it running, so he will be out there and that'll be just another photo op as well.
Left charge that guy toll.
I'll pay him to go across the bridge, no. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun and exciting things brought back from the past.
So with the Transportation Commission, because we're supposed to just come up with our list of photo ops, right?
Correct,
Would the
yes.
Transportation Commission like to be a photo op?
I've never
mean, you
seen
know, you
Ed-
as a group-
Come on, Ed, you gotta come and get a picture.
You as a group, we can put you, I think that would be important,
Nod ahead, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
LB, you coming?
Sure.
What'd you say?
Well, I just think, you know, that we could get this all lined up in advance of, you know, this group, this group, this group. I think this would be a good group. I think the Bridge Committee would be a good group. You know, I'm just thinking city-wise right now. I mean, probably our council members or something like that. So plan on having a separate photo. I'll get that all lined up.
John had checked the weather, and he said it's 55 on Saturday.
It is.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain,
And it was
though.
just cloudy. I think they took the rain out, Mayor, as of
I
this.
just saw 70% chance all day.
What time did you check? Because I checked it.
There's no hourly available yet.
Oh,
It's Monday.
dang
There's
it.
plenty of
Okay,
time
yeah.
for that to change.
It's 5 days away.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
still as inaccurate as they are as it was yesterday or tomorrow.
Has the lieutenant governor been invited?
He has been, but we haven't heard from him. We haven't heard from him.
Mayor, did you give him a call?
not give him a call. Yeah,
He had said
number.
that he had other things to do, but the mayor was going to call just to make sure. So yes, anyone else today, the program's going to print this afternoon or tomorrow, Mayor?
By the end of the day today, I have to.
By the end of today. So if any influence on anyone else that would like to speak, please let us know.
Very good.
Exciting.
We look for an exciting day.
Yes. And then the Highway Commission will come into town on Tuesday afternoon. So hopefully they'll be driving across the new bridge.
They will.
So then the commission meets here at the chamber at 8:30. It's open to the public, expected to last till about 10:30-ish. So Bob and the mayor are going to be given a thank you or gratitude kind of presentation. And they're working on trying to get the students that were in, not driving, that brought in the wheelbarrow of pennies, and get those, as many of those students back out of school to come back and show gratitude to the commission for funding it and getting it open and so forth. So should be fun times.
Well, Judy, officially, when will both lanes be open?
I'm hoping right now, knock on wood with the weather, would be Monday evening. And that's tentative, weather pending. Please add that, Greg.
So speaking of the commissioners, you all received an invitation to a dinner the night before on Tuesday evening, December the 4th at Jesuit Hall. So you need, have you RSVP'd?
That's Tuesday night, right?
Tuesday evening.
Tuesday
4
evening.
o'clock.
Yes.
So today's the day to RSVP. You can let me know. So,
I did.
Today's the
yeah, if you have,
Got mine.
yeah, Mary's handling it, but I'm just reminding you.
Mayor
They're
Ed,
saying, hey, let's get her done today.
Yeah, so, anyway.
Mayor Ed had a question. Is his spouse invited to attend with him?
If you want to bring her along, go ahead.
No,
I would love to meet her, Ed, honestly. if she puts
No?
up with you. No, I'm just kidding.
We kind of kept it members only. We did kind of keep it as commission members only.
just don't bring that other lady.
Her and Debbie can go down to the landing and wait for
There
us.
you go. And then everybody should have got the actual invitation, correct, Mayor? Those
Should
were
have.
sent out. Compliments of Bob Zick's great
pick,
photo.
Good pick.
This is an awesome picture. I just think it's wonderful.
We're going to have little buttons, too, that we're giving away that day. Some of our memorabilia will be a little 2-inch button that just says groundbreaking, but we use the photo again. That photo's going to be everywhere.
You're going to be popular. It is a neat photo. I remember that day. It was a good day.
That's how most prize-winning photos are. You
Which
just
one?
get lucky. No, it should be good.
I think so. And hopefully it'll be sunny and 55, John. Change that forecast for us, would you?
I'll work on that.
Very good. Is there any more discussion? If not, I'll-
So if anyone in the committee would like a parking pass to get on the bridge itself, that's what this pink pass is for, so if you would like one, let me know. If you're planning on driving onto the bridge, you'll need one of these. Bob, you definitely need one of these.
I'll do it.
Want me to pass them
Can you-
over there?
Yeah.
Dwayne Mickey is going to attend the ribbon cutting.
And the Tuesday, the commission is, did you say that was Tuesday morning?
Well, the commission will arrive noonish, and they will have their closed meetings on Tuesday afternoon, and then the reception is at 6 that evening, and then their open meeting is on Wednesday morning at 8:30.
All right.
So Wednesday morning here at 8:30. Chad, did you get one? Okay, make sure you get one.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. You'll keep us posted, Judy, as if there's any.
I had one more thing regarding the pennies for the bridge. We did invite them, now that we're progressed far enough along that we know that the bridge was ready to be opened, we did invite all the schools who collected the money, the Washington School District, Our Lady of Lourdes, St. Francis Borgia Grade School, St. Francis Borgia High School, St. Ignatius. So on Friday afternoon from 1 to 2, the school students that collected the pennies will be welcome to come out on the bridge, and I know Jeannie is going to be out there to photograph. So it was just a little extra thing that we threw in that we thought the children that worked hard to collect the bridge, now that are all taller than me, that weren't taller than me, to come on out and kind of just be the first to see.
Yeah, it was gonna be Thursday, moved it to Friday or something like that.
No, Our Lady had set up a special bridge meeting because I had been teaching classes there.
Gotcha.
So now we're moving it all to an open session on Friday now. But I think there's a school from Sullivan, like the normal schools that we've been allowing out to the bridge site, but not on the bridge. So just the students that collected pennies will be allowed on the bridge that day.
And that's Friday.
Friday from 1 to 2, and we're declaring it a safe zone so we don't have to provide PPE, and that's what happened why Thursday didn't quite work out, because the stripers may be out there, so I would have had to provided 150 students plus their parents. So we're working with all of the logistics on that, who's bringing buses, who's bringing vehicles, and how to get them all on the bridge safely. But by Friday afternoon, I'm hoping sidewalks will be open and so forth, so. But if any of you, as dignitaries or members of this committee, would like to come out on that Friday from 1 to 2 and meet the children, by all means, please feel free to walk onto the structure or call me and set up a time where you can come out and meet with the students and talk to them, that kind of stuff, along with you, Bob, as well, the Bridge Committee, on that Friday from 1 to 2. But parking is not really going to be an easy thing on that day, so make sure you call me or text me or something so I can let you know. I think that's all the events, Mayor.
I think,
Okay,
I think that's it.
okay.
Well, if anybody thinks of anything else,
Please
in
let
the
us
course of
know.
this meeting, we'll let you know.
Absolutely, yes.
Mark, you missed when we called up Amtrak, so. we'll get back
No,
to you.
no real report today. You do have a last chance today to get the Cyber Monday Amtrak tickets. They're 30% off for routes all around the country. I was looking up some of them, and some of them are pretty good deals. You know, Chicago to Denver was like $75 or something, you know, so it's pretty good. But anyway, other than that, I don't have any report.
Good, thank you. Moving on to our next item on the agenda, Highway 47 Corridor Committee.
Yes, November 14th, there was, I believe, a meeting to finalize the study. There was a draft meeting, or a draft, the draft study was sent out to all the committee members at the end of September. And unfortunately, I was unable to attend that meeting, but I do believe that the report has been finalized. They essentially presented 3 different options for getting around the 5047 interchange, 3 different scoring. They put a score sheet together. It's a pretty straightforward way to do things. They also identified various kind of smaller projects that I believe MoDOT can then utilize to see if we can get some STP funding to get some of those things done. So, those include some turn lanes, some side roads, I'm trying to think, Clearview Road, I believe was
Side
one.
street approach,
Side street
yes.
approaches, yeah, next to the quarry on 47. So there's some very attainable, short-term fixes that actually play in pretty well to the overall larger scope of the project of going to 4 lanes. Not sure, where this goes from here. I don't know if there was a lot of discussion on that, but it has been completed, and I think we should all be pretty happy about that. So,
Yeah, it was a very impressive study. The fact that and Judy, even several folks from MoDOT even commented on the fact that how impressive the Lockmiller study is and how impactful it can be to our region. The discussion is do we implement a lot of the low-hanging fruit / I guess temporary implementations, and does that elongate the process for getting the ultimate goal of 4 lanes if you do that? So do you go for the large 4-lane issue at one time initially with the most appealing plan of the interchange at 1547? Or do you go with the smaller fixes with which to satisfy some safety issues that exist? And that's something we're going to have to determine as we go down the road here on this thing. The bottom line is the study is done. We now have a tool with which to stick in the dirt and turn some soil over and plant some seeds of getting this 4 lanes going. So So we had to have this, and we have it now. It's official. Ron Williams, I talked to him earlier this morning. He's got the hard copy in hand. It is done. He's trying to put it into a zip file and email it to everybody so everybody can look at the glorious coloration of the implementation process. So the, the question now is funding, and now it's time to lean on everybody that has any impact whatsoever on it.
I presume there are estimates in it so that we have some dollars everybody can chew on to try and shoot toward?
I guess gross, loosely estimated numerics.
High-level
because
estimates.
Very, very highbrow estimates, yeah, above treetops, just because you just don't know what property, et cetera, and right-of-ways and things like this are going to take. But yes, there are numbers associated.
Very good. The fact that the study is done and East West Gateway has accepted it, correct? It is in their long-term plan?
It is in the long-term plan, but it's out beyond 2045
Yeah,
still.
so it's not even on, as far as my
Illustrative.
perception is concerned, on the scope.
Illustrative.
And that's what that's what an objective is going to be to get it bumped up.
Well, Judy, some of the stuff, as Tim calls low-hanging fruit, when could some of that stuff begin?
Right now, our safety funds in St. Louis, St. Louis region is expended out through 2021. So it would be fiscal year 22, which would be a July 21 construction at the earliest.
Yeah.
So some of the low-hanging fruit with the design build that just went through, the safety design build project took care of some of the high friction surface treatments that we were experiencing in the wet-dry crashes. Side street approaches, a couple of those got rectified as well. So we should see a little bit of a crash reduction rate based on that over the next couple years. And then, like Tim said, we need to decide if you're going to just push. But now with the failure of Prop D, it may not be wise to wait. It may be wise just to improve the corridor that's out there. And that's what, like the Route 21 task force that's been in existence since 1968, they've been on the Capitol steps since then, fighting for a new 21. And probably 3 years ago, the coalition or the task force and we kind of said, you know what, we're not going to get 4 lanes down to DeSoto. So let's start improving the existing corridor. So next summer, we'll be building some turn lanes at given locations, those kind of projects. We just opened 110 at 21. A realignment was a potentially deadly intersection that we just corrected. So now their focus is let's try to work on the existing corridor and spend the money wisely, but still want to build it. They know they still need the 4-lane corridor. So that's where the commission and the county here is going to have to decide, okay, you know what, maybe there's a couple places that we could do some low cost, or if the city of Union comes into a lot of money and wants to build the relocation or the realignment of 47 south and north, then that could be a potential cost share project. So there's other funding sources that we can piecemeal the big picture together. Coming south from Washington, if they would do a cost share to a certain point, or if that some of the ground that's for sale out there, large developers come in and want to start doing TDDs so that we can widen pieces at a time. But this gives us a little bit of guidance and plan in place that kind of shows where those areas are. And then you can look at those individually to see how they'll qualify for given funding. And you know how that is. Sometimes grant money falls from the sky, so
exactly
you need to
right.
be ready to go.
That's exactly right.
But I'm not too sure that I see any time in the next 25 years us funding 4-laning 47.
25 years?
We're in 2018, 19.
She's the consummate pessimist.
I'm sorry, I'm normally an optimist, but 2045 is when it's listed, and there's still another 10 projects that you would compete against. So 25 years, and Chad's, here with boots, like I don't see the north side. I don't know how the north side of 47 would compete with their funding scenario up there, but as far as the south side of the East-West Gateway's long-range plan, that's when it would be.
What if Prop D moved 47 up on the priority?
Prop D would just have taken care of the system. It would have gave us enough just to keep us going. at the level of service that we've been providing. So now, as you know, we're all disappointed that it didn't pass, but we're going to have to seriously look at what we're going to do.
Can the legislature actually get involved and do this on their own?
Yes,
The
they
way they
can.
did with the
they can.
1992 plan where they did the 6 cents.
Yep.
I mean, this is, it's ridiculous. I mean, if it's what's needed for growth in the state and everybody's in favor of it, why can't the legislature just do it?
The only restriction they have is the Hancock Amendment, but I think they could still pass a 2 cent
2
per
cents,
year.
yeah.
And be within the limits of the Hancock Amendment.
It's such a no-brainer to me. I don't know, I mean, and it takes care of some of the existing needs and actually could put money aside for some of these major projects that are going to have to be done. What are you going to do with the big bridge on, what is it, Rocheport?
Yeah, on 70.
How soon is that supposed to be changed out?
In the next
repair or
5 years
replace?
before we have to spend major dollars
There you go.
investing on a rehab.
Do you think MoDOT would consider a cost share project on 47?
Absolutely.
They
Because
would?
it's identified as a long-range plan need, so we would definitely.
We had it in Proposition D. We had the funds going to be coming into both counties, Warren and Franklin.
Again,
What are
how
the
would
use
the
for that?
county come up or
Funded.
with their share of the funds? That's the big question, because there's not a lot of development in the unincorporated part to form a TDD or a SID, which is normally the mechanism that is used to match those funds. But again, if they passed a special sales tax within the county or use their existing transportation tax, but then they've got their own system to maintain. So, and there's a lot of needs there that, may be a higher priority than 47, to take care of their own system. So those are the kind of tough choices that the commission is going to have to make. And of course, I'm going to do my best to try to continue to fight for funding. But as far as the major project and the major 4-laning of 47, I don't see that happening for a while. But I'm going to not say 25 years again, Bill, because
Yeah, some would say the ballot language on D was set up to fail initially anyway. And it was some are even stating it was done intentionally so that it wouldn't pass because of those didn't want to be associated with a tax increase proposal being put to the people. And, we're all obviously proponents of transportation here, but there are those out there that can be led to believe otherwise on certain initiatives, especially that one. It was confusing with the law enforcement aspect of it and not being clearly defined as to what that tax was truly going to be. From the get-go, it was called a transportation tax. The ballot language referenced all the highway patrol aspect of it that confused people, so they get confused, they go negative on it, say no. And that's, I think, a very, very impactful part of that result. So it's what does Missouri want to do with the transportation system,
Tim, what strikes me with it, though, how many times now has it been put to the people and the people? And I think it is such a complex issue. I mean, I've learned, and I'm sure most of us have, so much from attending this thing over years, this group, and learning about the transportation needs and the funding and so forth. It's a complex issue. And to me, that's why it has to come out of the legislature, who have a committee who study that, and they can put it together and run it, because to throw it in a 3-paragraph ballot past people who see tax increase, it's just, it's not going to happen. And I think they have to step up and do whatever. If it's minimal, do it. Do something, How many times have we had legislators here, and they all have talked supportive, but nothing comes out,
1987 was the last time people voted on a tax issue.
Yeah.
Or
Transportation.
transportation, and it passed. And they listed the projects that they were going to do. So simple.
Yeah.
The 92 plan, they built support for the 92 plan by basically asking every community to come and make your presentations on the projects you wanted done in your community. The 92 plan. People bought into it. Everybody brought their projects. They put it in a 82 plan, and I got it back here.
we had no doubt.
And they didn't have to vote on it. The legislature, the people said, yes, we want this, and told their legislators. do this, we want it. And that's how we got the 6 cents. So you take the 6 cents off of the 17, can you imagine where we would have been if the legislature hadn't done those 6 cents? But look where we could be if the legislator had put 2 cents a year for the last
Forever. Yeah.
20 years, 25 years, we wouldn't have transportation problems. So it's a
Well, Judy, the position of MoDOT is then that if there would be a cost-sharing program, it would definitely move up the project.
Absolutely, yes. If the locals can come up with the match, it would definitely be a
Is it
considerable.
50/50 or what?
Yes.
See, what's happening too is that that's a sales tax issue in many cases. Our half-cent transportation tax, if you were to have to put that on the ballot today and pass it, I don't know. I don't think it would fly.
You mean the local city one that got
Yeah,
this
and most of
100
the
funded?
additional funding is gonna have to come probably from a local sales tax issue, because they're not gonna get it on property tax. You know, in this county, there's places where you're bumping up to 10% sales tax right now.
Yep.
They've basically used up all their equity. I don't know that you could get anything passed.
You know, but I often wonder, just the customers that call in and tell me that, you know, well, you got enough money to do this or that.
They have no
They
understanding.
have no clue where well, I pay property taxes, well, I pay, and it's like, well, look at your tax record when it comes in. You don't pay anything for transportation on any of those taxes, or any of those bills that you're getting in the fall of the year. It's all coming when you pay the pump or buy a new vehicle. And so, I mean, I'm just thinking that half the people, and I don't know, Eric talks to a lot of folks too, but when they call in and demand a pothole to be repaired or a fix on this road or that road or whatever, and that's their first sentence to me is, well, you make enough money already, da-da-da-da-da. So trying to educate them, I think, is the biggest thing, and that's where Patrick has said with the Citizens Guide, and now that we have to legally now supply that document, but people don't want to take the time to learn or listen.
No.
And I think that's where our biggest struggle is. You know, when school districts or fire districts go out for a ballot issue on property tax, they're very explicit, and I agree with you, Bill. They say, I'll build a new firehouse to reduce your response time to less than 2 minutes, or I want this bond issue passed for this school district because we can reduce the class size to 20 students. It's a given. Like, if you pass this, this is what you're getting. And in Missouri, you know, we can't necessarily do that under this current atmosphere that's out here. They don't want to do that. And then our campaign, which was, I thought, very well, but I heard a lot towards the end, they started focusing on law enforcement. And I think that really must have deterred a lot of yes voters, because once they found out that it wasn't roads and bridges, it was going to the big bad police in their mind, they really turned against it. So I don't know. I mean, you know, could we just put out there, this is for roads and bridges? And would the average voter understand that and say yes? I mean, I'm leaning towards they might, but, you know, it gets too convoluted with other ballot language, like you said.
You know, a great example of cost sharing is Highway 100 from Washington to I-44. I doubt if we even have 4 lanes now.
No.
No, we
You wouldn't.
It's funny you mentioned that, because when the commission first came out here, I was doing the background for the commission meeting coming up, and Jim Briggs spoke at June 6, 2008 commission meeting, and not to be a historian or anything, I have the document. I didn't remember this, but in 2008, we had done 7 cost share projects in this community, and he recognized that to the commission. If you remember, Bedford Center was a cost share right there at Bedford Center. Route A at Studerman Road, High Street at 100, Pottery Road at 100, Duncan Avenue relocation at 47, and then Vosbrink Drive and Route 100. Because we did the Vosbrink turn lanes and everything. Actually, it was DE. Without the signal, of course, but the intersection with the turn lanes, and that was 80% DED, and then MoDOT just paid the rest of that. So by 2008, we had done, and I know I was here starting May of, so in 6 years, we had done 7 cost share projects back in that. So I don't know, but I thought that was interesting data that just popped up that.
Judy, is there a separate fund available for cost share that?
Yes, it is available. The commission reopened that, was that a year ago in January? Yeah, I think, so they had closed it for a while because we didn't have enough money just to meet our own asset management, taking care of the system. But then they started using it to leverage more transportation dollars. So it opened back up, I think it was a January of a year ago.
Is that an 80-20, like you guys go 80?
No, that's a 50-50. I wish it was 80-20.
So I threw it out.
80% local, 20% MoDOT. No, I'm just kidding. Did I say that?
I think it's
out loud?
70-30.
But no, we are, and I mean, in our agreements, it's strict that we do not pay for anything over 50% of the project. So, and then any overruns, any changes, all that stuff goes to the locals.
So
And
you
how
got about
much
35
are we talking about? You say it's in that report, but if we put a
It
four-lane
depends on
road.
what section you're talking about, LB.
I'm
Because
talking
if you
about a
could
four-lane
build,
road between here and getting through the,
The whole thing. What?
without realigning 47s, you could do it for under 100 million.
I'd say 65, 70 million.
82, I think, was our last estimate, to be exact, but
And that's without doing what?
without realigning 47s.
The intersection?
Yeah, because, you know, there's different talk of going 47 north, going through the bottoms to connect to 47 south, and there's drawings that show 47 south coming around Dickey Bubs and coming in to meet 47 north. So there's alternatives there in town, and that's really the cost.
So how much is that part of it?
In the study just came out with 60 million or something. I'm thinking we could do a really cheap, dirty, kind of good solution for under 25. But I'm not sure that's what the community really wanted, so
under 25 just for that bridge
25 million.
interchange.
But the
And that
four
was-
lanes from Washington to Union is
You could
65
do,
to 70
oh no, I
million?
would say that section's easy. The biggest dilemma we have on this section from Union to Washington is the railroad and the floodplain.
Okay.
Because right as you go south of Independence, you start to go kind of down, and then you got the railroad track, which is already a low clearance, which is a locally owned rail now. It's, you know, but that right there, if you cannot lower 47 there, because we're already in the floodplain. So we'd have to raise the railroad bridge up or go over the top of the railroad bridge. Yes,
Maybe we should
Gee,
have
don't
a
you
small
really,
presentation on the study
study.
itself.
I'd love to have that.
Would that be okay with this group?
Because we could bring Cheryl back in.
Huge benefits, they can show the
Oh, yeah.
most
The
popular
ideas, all
choices.
the ideas and
don't you
problems.
really need Union to Washington more than you need Union to 44?
The
That's
crash
definitely a
rates,
I
priority.
think so.
Yes.
You got Highway 50 coming in.
But we always talk about going all the way to 44, but it seems to me that where the real and maybe I don't drive the other enough, but the real problem seems to me to be Washington to Union and Union to Washington.
it depends what you say problem, LB, because as a traffic engineer, my little hat over here, the congestion issue is considerably worse on this section, you're correct. But the crash data, the crash rates were a little different, and based on the different types of crashes. You're seeing a lot of rear-end crashes on 47 from Union to Washington because of the congestion. But the other section is seeing high rate, high speed, left turning, because there's no access control on that segment. So you've got left turners coming in, I think there was 48 entrances or something in that section, and they're just constantly turning, stopping in mainline traffic to pick up kids on the bus. So when you say worst section, it really depends on what you're looking at, because congestion, I agree. This stretch is highly congested, but it has limited entry points to the highway. So at those intersections, could we just widen and expand the intersections that are controlled by signals and help flush those out? But then you got all the side streets that can never get on because the volume is so high. So I know a couple recommendations were interchanges, so that you didn't have to get on at grade and make a left to go. Because you can't get a gap in 47 traffic anymore on this stretch because it's so high a volume. So people are forcing the gap that they get. So some of the studies, I think it was at Clearview Country Club, building an overpass and only giving right-in, right-outs to 47. I think Cheryl should come out, or Ron, or.
Yeah,
Somebody should present that. I'd like to
Let's
see
try
that.
January, after the bridge is done.
right.
Here you guys go again, we're not even done with one, and we're starting on the next.
Well, I talked to Pam,
This seems to be a thorough.
Judy, I talked to Pam this morning and said, well, we're working on our next project. So anyway,
On
so,
the next two, because
yeah.
we've got
Okay, I have a question though. So
I need to retire.
what was, when LB asked the question of what the cost was, and you gave the answer of 65 to 70 million without aligning the
No, I don't know what the.
what was that 65 to, what?
82 million is our last estimate, and that was to do both sections without realigning 47.
Okay,
That 65 to 70 was an estimate from Washington through the interchange, not all the way to St. Clair.
but included the interchange,
Correct.
Correct.
included the interchange.
It included 47 South and North realignment.
Without the intersection.
look at, you could find it.
No, you just
No, wait a
said
minute,
two
that's just
different,
the
yeah, you just said two
I know,
different
I know they did.
things.
That's the reason I
No, the
wanted to
number,
bring that up.
that number,
Tell me.
Let me
lot
look at it.
to me, from Washington through the interchange and just past or to Union City limits, not all the way to St. Clair.
Okay,
from that point
65 to
south.
70, but it includes realigning the
Yes.
interchange?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, 65 to 70 includes realigning, but stopping when you get to Union City limits.
Yes, on the
Then what's the
On the other
additional?
On the south side.
on the south side.
Okay,
We're saying the same thing, yeah.
Not going to Fort, not going.
not going to
St.
St.
The part that LB thinks is the worst would cost 65 to,
Yeah, and Judy's right.
Including the
fact that
intersection.
that study identifies, look, you've got greater life safety issues and loss of life potentiality from that Union to St. Clair stretch than you do from the Washington to Union stretch, ironically.
You have less traffic.
Well,
Actually, there's more traffic, but the traffic's going slower in
Slower.
between. So you don't have the deadly accidents.
you've got daredevils being created trying to get on 47 between Union and St. Clair because the multiple access points and the flow doesn't allow for accessibility from those inlets. And when you do that, you create T-bone opportunities and veering and accidents and ultimately life safety.
Well, what I'm hearing is, it sounds like we need to come up with 32 to 35 million to get the match then, is what they're saying.
Get MoDOT to, throw a bunch of money in.
Kick up
Get
that
East-West Gateway to
50-50.
bump this damn thing up and throw a bunch of money in and
right now, all our
That's what I'm
extra
talking about.
funds is going to 270 North, I can tell you, in the St. Louis region.
What did we put into Highway 100 from I-44 to Washington?
What was the match?
Yeah, it ended up being 46, 46 total. It started out at 52, and then by the time we got done with it, we were down to 20.
value engineered it to 40.
Yeah.
So the local match on that one, was that a 50-50 or how was that match?
Yep.
That's 50/50.
So it cost the community 23 or the county that?
Yes.
okay.
But at the same time, we divided out a lot of the smaller, I mean, we listed as one cost share, but it actually was 4 projects. Because remember, Target contract we signed here, was signed. And then we had to hurry up and build that stretch, so we pulled that out and had a special design and rushed that project through. And then the Walmart was coming in, so then we had another stretch of section that we pulled out. And so I think we had 3 different jobs right in town there before the regular 4-lane stretch.
And look, that's gonna be the thing too, on this, it's gonna probably be a segmented thing. What's the highest priority? Well, the alignment, that's what's.
Correct.
Priority for most, and that's my personal feeling as well. So you take that, make that a project, and you go, establish priorities north and south from there.
But I don't think just widening, like, you said, is just widening this 4-lane from Washington to Union is really gonna solve the problem. You know what I mean? Because you're still gonna have the at-grade crossings, and then when you get to Union, you're still gonna have to make the jog.
Right.
So, I think it needs to be looked at kind of holistic, maybe there first and help that, and then come out and widen the rest of it as development occurs. But, yeah, it's gonna depend how much money can you come up with, and then see what you can do the most impact with.
And I think
I
that's,
hate to go backwards, but I think that's probably where you should start, is how much money do you think you could come up with for a match? And then let's see where that does the most improvements.
Okay, then before we leave it, I want to bring up one point, and it centers around the money. We've all talked about how much money can we have, how much money does it cost, how much money is it going to take. I think if we can link Washington and Union at a viable economic interchange to where they start functioning as one economic unit in the county, we're going to see a whole lot more tax money and a whole lot more money coming in, period. So there is some big value in having 4-lane from just Washington to Union. I'm not trying to play down the safety value or lives or any of that type of stuff, but if we can start functioning between Washington and Union as a more cohesive unit, I think we can bring in a lot more economic benefit, and we'll have a lot more money also. So I think there is some value at looking in that step as a smaller if we can't make the whole big step right away.
Unfortunately, to get Union behind this, though, there are people who would say, well, that'd just bring more people from Union to Washington to shop and so on.
Did Highway 50 ever get completed as to what Union was looking for?
No, they're still committed to finishing from Progress Parkway out to 44.
And is that on a list somewhere to be completed?
Yep.
When's
Same
that
long-range
supposed
plan
to
this
happen?
is. But the city committed to doing half of that, financing half of it.
From Progress Parkway all the way to 44?
Correct.
So they're going to do a match?
Well, and that's their dilemma now, because their highest priority would be realigning 47s, not building 50 out west of town.
Okay.
So that's where their dilemma is. They committed to finishing 50, but their priorities have changed. This is the highest priority now at 47. So would they participate in a cost share for this and not that? That's what we have to look at. Because now I've decided to go ahead and spend money fixing 50 from Progress Parkway to 44. We're adding in turn lanes at East Denmark, and AT, we did some safety improvements because I knew the city couldn't afford the match, and it was on our long-range plan beyond 45. So I went on the existing corridor, well, we went on the existing corridor and decided to try to fix some of the high-hazard locations. But traffic volumes are still high out there. So now 47 now is becoming their highest priority.
So you did that in, okay.
We're
so
building
they-
that next summer.
So but did they commit it to match that whole part?
Well, the language in the cost share agreement's vague, so, they don't necessarily have to do that.
How did we raise the 23? Remind me of that. How did
Half
we?
cent,
Well,
transportation.
I was
Half
looking for
cent?
that spreadsheet on here.
Got a
You
ballot
don't have the
language
minutes.
past it.
Pardon me?
Because this expires in 26, correct?
No, 30. Oh, no, it's 30 years.
25, I think.
So 2025, I'm sorry, that was 26. So in 25, this expires, this tax increase. So at that point, you could have a vote to renew it, but instead of 100, it would go to 47.
25 years, not year 25.
No, wait.
25 years.
And I think that's 30.
Because what have you collected already?
It's 30.
You've already collected,
25 million. We're 25 million right now, so that's basically, with interest and whatever, that's
right.
we're at halfway.
Well, you borrowed 23 million,
Right.
and you've collected 25 million.
But we've used it to, that's.
Well, part of that was that we are improving our own streets using that money. So that added an additional 5 years to the payback.
So it was a 25-year tax increase that began in 2005.
That's right.
Right. And it ends in 2030. And it would have ended in 25 if we hadn't we said that we would also use that tax to improve all of our city streets, and so that pushed it out to 30.
That's right.
So we couldn't just renew it in 25 and start it on 47 at that point?
Yes, we could. I think-
Well,
I think-
you-
Why would you, yeah. You'll have to
I
go
don't know
to-
what the legal parts of
Has
that
to go to the
is.
ballot issue again. It'll have to be a renewal, a no tax increase renewal. That's,
See, I think this is doable. I think that the county ought to share in it too. And I think we ought to be lobbying for Washington a third, the county a third, and Union a third.
but we're doing that. We're gonna cut the ribbon on this bridge, folks. People forget where the monies came from that got this thing, the seed money to get this thing going. The county put in $250,000. The city of Washington put in $500,000. The Washington Road
Warren
District put
County.
in, what, $5,000, I think. And Warren County put in 50. So we've already got we know we can do, this bridge is because of that, I think. This is
Well, that
what
was
started.
money that was in the transportation fund. The $500,000 was part of the transportation sales tax,
Improvement.
yes.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
You're right, LB, that's the path we need to follow to get.
It is.
that
It
is
is. No
how,
question about it.
because it
It
has to be a
works.
joint effort.
And the sales tax portion that the communities through the Transportation Committee, Franklin County Transportation Committee, the sales taxes that are divvied up between the communities each year,
Correct. That is correct.
they chose
Yes.
that money for the 1 year to be put towards
The bridge.
the new bridge, and that basically, all the communities,
It's $250,000.
$250,000.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a history of working together.
Yeah, and so to touch on what Judy was mentioning, and Bill mentioned something about the City of Union, they have changed their priorities. They were at the last meeting speaking very fervently about the desire to have this done as well. So, I mean, there's definitely the interest and the will. Mayor Livengood was there, and actually, they were the only ones there other than Ron Williams, myself, and
He scheduled that at a bit.
presentation, but it was a quick schedule, don't get me wrong. But that being said, just to make sure that everybody understands, they're willing participants too. So I think we got opportunity with which to work and get that triangle established, or as many octagonal shapes we can throw in there, points of purchase, if you will.
Because at any point, the commission can take away the cost share committee again. They've done it once, so they can take it away again, so.
See,
Not that there's urgency, but there's urgency on.
it would seem to me that we would be in danger of that because of the fact that we didn't pass Proposition D, and we're saying we needed Proposition D in order to keep the regular services. So all of a sudden, somebody's going to say, well, in order to keep the regular services, now we can't do any more cost sharing. I'd be really worried about that.
You're there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the commission's going to do. I know they're discussing it.
Well, there is a
Actually, they may
question-
discuss it here.
Question of who should take the lead in a cost-sharing program for 47. Should it be the county, City of Washington, Union?
Don't look at me.
Tim, who funded the study?
It can be a
Funded the
three-part
study for
agreement.
47?
Yeah.
Who was it? Washington, Union?
We did it through the county. Initially, the mayor was on the 47 committee
Yeah.
establishment, and then kind of took it over at the county level and did regionally. So it's run through the county's books now, and
But was there any
I think
cost
that's
share?
appropriate.
Yeah, it is. Was there any, did Washington kick in anything for that?
Well, we raised some money early on, about what, $80,000 or $83,000?
Everybody was
Study.
participant.
Everybody
I don't,
participated in it.
everybody participated in doing that.
So it wasn't just Union or Washington
I think it was
participated in
maybe
this Highway
50
47
from
study.
Washington.
Special road districts,
Special road districts.
cities, all but St. Clair.
It was 50 from
St.
Washington.
Clair's the only one that did not participate at the end.
Yeah.
50,
So
25.
that's the history. We know how to do this stuff. We know
Yeah,
how
the
to
road
get-
districts both participated 5,000.
That's right.
Right.
Union and Washington Road District.
Didn't we do 50?
But I think the
Washington
meeting
did
that
50.
the
50.
committee voted and made the decision that the county should lead was to take the local politics out of it, was that if the county led the study, then that would say, because I think Union would feel, well, if they're gonna call this the high, just like LB said, this is the highest priority, and that's the highest priority, and then this group thought that Union should be the highest priority. So I think that's why the county took the lead in the study and ran it all through the county, so that they had a more global look at what the priority should be.
And that's what this study helps also. It takes all the bias out, and the reality is right in front of you. Yeah.
Well, when I think back, first of all, how could we even exist at this point without the dual lane between 44 and here?
Yeah, it's just
And I believe that it's worse between Union and Washington on 47 now than it was on 100 at the time we
Yes.
started that.
Absolutely.
So just think about what it's going to be like in the next 5 years. It's something that has to be done. We need to do it.
Before.
45.
Well, yeah.
Don't say those words to
Sure.
Bill.
No,
5 years,
I can tell
25
you,
years.
I can tell you.
Yeah, how bad it's gonna
It's
be.
taken 20.
I can't even
20-some years.
imagine how bad.
It's taken 25 years from us to get from
Well, this is
starting
the
to talk
same-
about the new bridge and actually getting it.
And this is the same conversation we had, which spurred us on to do the Highway 100 cost share widening. Because we said they weren't going to do it until 2025, that we were not in the program
And we said, what
to
do you need
have
to do?
Highway
What do we need to
100
do? And they
expanded
said,
till 2025. And we said, that's not going to happen. And the
Right.
city of Washington stepped up. So now they're saying 45.
Instead of pennies for the bridge, left
So we need to step
two
up.
bits for the 47.
1,400.
Sandy, get the checkbook out.
Well, and I think this is a local, we're talking about just Prop D in Missouri, but if we look at the federal level, you know, there's been some talk up there too that our contributions to the states may be going down as well. So I think, like LB said, is, you know, the quicker you decide to do something while the money is there and these opportunities are there, because we don't know what at the federal level is going to happen. And that's scarier than the state level.
We didn't even talk about the north side of the river, Highway
Yeah.
47.
Chad just walked out.
No, Chad just walked out, and Chad's got that. Can you expound, Eric, on where we're at with that proposal to get the funding for that?
Grant that they put in
Grant,
for.
the build grant?
Yeah, we haven't heard anything back yet.
So that was applied for in July, is that correct?
Yeah, several months ago.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is probably in December that they'll announce what projects nationwide.
See, this money comes available. There's $5.5 billion that came available to spend on projects, and they gave us, what, 30 days notice of that back? Or whatever. It wasn't very long.
No, but you gotta be ready to go.
You gotta be ready to go. You gotta have studies done. Monies comes available. We'll see what happens. If we could be a resounding no. We could be, yes, we'll fund part of it, it's a good idea for the north side. But we didn't have any money for that. We applied for it, asking for it all. We'll see what happens. We haven't turned it down yet, so. Anyway.
All right.
Anyway, are you done with that one?
Yep.
Warren County, Eric. I think we didn't talk about that. We talked about the Transportation Commission.
I have no report. The next meeting is January 17th.
All right, very good. Eric? Nothing? Airport? Raymond?
Okay, so since we're running along, you guys have got my update that's in there. We've got two things that I would bring up is the paving of the tarmac. The city's currently working on liquidated damages and the repair of a few things out there on that new pavement. And we're still expecting everything to be completed in the spring, and that would be the final seating. So that's ongoing. The other thing I want to announce is that at the request of the city, Washington Aviation and the city are working together to transfer all operations to the city of the Washington Airport at this time. So we expect to have that all worked out within the next 3 months. Any questions?
So it won't be
Just a
contracted?
question.
It won't be the contract arrangement?
Correct, correct. Right now, the city's in conversations with Washington Aviation staff, and we're talking about the assets and tools, and we're committing to the pilots in a letter to them this week, I hope, that all services will stay the same.
Correct. We've had 2 extensions on the existing contract, I think that was due in May, and we just kept working back and forth with regards to that. And discussions with Ray, we feel that the city is at a point where we can go ahead with existing staff over there to go ahead and take over the airport. Like we said, March 1st would be the first date that we go ahead and take that over. We've got some work to do to talk about the assets that Washington Aviation currently has, but we feel that we can go ahead and operate this. We gave a financial report to the council about last month, talked to them based upon the financial statements that we received from Ray, and we feel that we can go ahead and operate this at least a break even or even in the positive. The last probably 10 years over that time frame, the city has, I think it's been on average based on the numbers that we provided, that the city was average 34,000 in the red every year. And so we feel that we can at least break even, if not go ahead and make a little bit more money and keep the same level of service. That's first and foremost. We don't want to drop any level of service that's over there today. And so we feel that we can go ahead and do that starting on March the 1st. And we are still waiting for our airport layout plan to go ahead and be approved. That we hope that that's by the end of the year.
Yeah, we're shooting for MoDOT has assured me that they believe the airport layout plan will be approved by the first of the year. Now, there are 17, 18 other airports that have these layout plans that are also being reviewed at this time, so we're in that queue.
Right.
But that's the latest update that I had on that ALP, so.
Any comments, questions?
Any questions? We know that this is something new. Washington Aviation has done a remarkable job of bringing that level of service up to this, what we, our customers expect. We do not want to lose one step of that. That's why we've been negotiating with the employees over there to go ahead and stay on with the city. And so far, that's been successful. So that's what we're looking at doing. And like I said, we feel that we can keep moving, if not, hopefully improve and be in the black rather than in the red.
Those workers would become city employees.
Correct.
I can't speak to the finances of the deal, but what I can say is that Washington Aviation has done an outstanding job of running that airport for years, and I don't know how many years it's been.
21.
21 years. I hope you're right in saying that we can continue to keep the same level of service, because that concerns me.
I understand. And it was key for us. The only way that we would have done this is if we could go ahead and keep the employees that are currently over there and keep those operations. So we hope to go ahead and move forward with it, and if nothing else, improve.
What department will I come under then?
Right now, we'll probably just look under public services. They'll report, the airport manager will report directly to John.
Okay.
Currently today, all city components, as far as construction goes, anything operationally that is not in the contract today, those come to my office today for approval and review. So all budgetary functions, those type of things, any administration, or operations that we may need to help with the airport, snow removal, those type of things, those all route through me anyway. So it would essentially, that layout would essentially become the same, except that I would gain essentially 3 employees.
One full-time, 2 part-time.
There you go.
We started these discussions, I guess, back in May when we started just looking at the existing contract, and I think, I know we had Councilman Sullentrop and Councilman Holtmeyer also in those discussions, and we were reviewing that. And like I said, we kept kicking the can down the road for 3 months, and we did that twice. And so this last time, we just said, okay, what's the best way that we could transition? And then talking with Ray, he wanted to bump it up actually a little bit. We had talked about extending it out a little bit further until the end of the next grass cutting season, but this time they came back and said, no, it'd be cleaner if we just went ahead and did it before the grass cutting season. So city was like, fine, we can go ahead and do that. So.
Big step.
It is a big step. Yeah. It is huge. And we knew that we talked about this announcement this morning, the last couple of weeks or whatever. So the council's got a special meeting at 4:30 this afternoon. That's the only agenda item that they have. And that's to extend this contract from now until February 28th. And then after that, like I said, March 1st, then the city would go ahead and take that over. Our current extension that we're under, I think, expires November the 30th of this week.
So the income and stuff that you receive from fuel sales, I guess, is your only income? Correct?
Yes.
And the rental?
And the hangar rentals.
Hangar
Hangar
rentals.
rentals.
That's exactly right.
Income.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any federal participation in the agreement if you did a consultant agreement versus city staff?
No.
So you're not
No.
losing any reimbursement?
No.
That's it. That's where I was going.
Nope.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, that's what you were
Yeah.
saying.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, the airport receives approximately $150,000 a year in entitlement money, which then can be leveraged then, where we put 10% of that up to do projects. So $15,000 a year is what we typically budget for those type of projects, the apron project, any future hangar project, the fuel upgrades, those type of things, can all utilize, they call that entitlement money. You can only have $450,000 built up within your, for lack of better terms, piggy bank, before you have to spend it, or you don't get any more back. It's a cap, $450,000 cap. So with that, and Darren Hunt, the fuel sales and the hangar rentals are the only 3 other sources of income or offsetting dollars. The hangar rentals and the fuel sales come out of the city's general revenue fund. So it's just a different source of dollars. And those 2 items, like, and Darren hit on that again, we're operating in a red of equipment somewhere around 30, 35,000. That would
I think
fluctuate.
last year was 25,000 or
Yeah.
whatever
And that would fluctuate
in the red.
100% essentially on fuel sales. Hangar rentals are pretty steady. So we do have there is a list for hangars, a waiting list for people to utilize the hangars that we have today. So that would be the next thing that we'll look at is coming up with a plan, fast in the sense of not talking 25 years, but maybe a 3 to 4 year plan to look at extending our hangars and just getting more capacity at the airport, which obviously would have more people moving through Washington to do business for other.
Which will only help our bottom line.
Right. And we feel like we can do that with the staff that we have, or with the assistance of Ray staff being able to transfer that over.
Yeah.
Additional hangars don't take additional staff, a lot of additional staff until it becomes substantially bigger. So we feel like we're set up well for the, short to moderate term here.
So how does MoDOT come in, Judy, as far as the funding?
Any grants that they applied,
The
plus
grants
those
only.
funds that they automatically get.
Correct. So
Which
all
is
of
the
our
one thing.
dollars, just like any of the STP type stuff, roadway stuff, funnel through MoDOT to the FAA at this point. Yeah.
And the next question is, how many of the commissioners are going to fly in?
Right now, there's 3 of them flying.
Okay, Ray, you need.
And some, yeah, I talked to Kevin already. Sorry, I didn't talk to you,
No,
but
that's fine, Kevin.
I already called the airport 2 weeks ago when we found out. Their flights come in at different times from noon till, again, the service I'll be talked about.
Would it be nice to have a new car for them to drive in?
Yeah.
It
It's
depends
gonna
on
be
what-
one of our Ford Taurus.
Bill, are you thinking about donating one?
I wanted to pick them up in a snowplow,
Utilize one.
but I got turned down, because then they could ride the snowplow
Nice new
across the
Toyotas.
bridge on Tuesday afternoon when they come in. But no, Bradco's delivering food out there for them, so they'll eat
Okay.
at the area there, and Kevin's gonna have coffee and water farm.
Very good. You already.
Yep, oh yeah. 2 weeks ago, we did all that.
Pick them up in an old MoDOT truck and drive them to Union about 3:30 PM.
That's how you do it.
I wanted to pick them up in a actual snowplow truck with the plow on, so they could feel. Because when we opened New 21 back in, gosh, how old, like 2002 or 4, we actually had a truck, and Congressman Gephardt at the time, Dick Gephardt wanted to drive it. So we put him in there, and he was the first one to drive that segment of New 21. And then everybody wanted to do it, so I suggested that for here, so we'll see what happens. I don't think it's gonna happen. But anyway, so we will be picking them up in state cars, bringing them over to City Hall for their meeting in the afternoon of Tuesday afternoon. But we're hoping that they'll be on the new bridge when they come across.
And since you brought up the snow removal, you guys did a great job of the first snow that we had. I mean, it was.
It wasn't a blizzard, that's the
Wasn't a
thing. I
blizzard.
think last
But
night
even
was a
so,
little
I mean,
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 70 and I-35, and,
Yeah.
yeah, the emails were flying around.
I would just add one more thing with the airport. If, over this transition period, if there's any concerns, specific concerns that you all may have, please forward those to my office, 390-1010, so I could work together through this process to get those sorted out, so we can make this transition as smooth as possible. The last thing any of us want is a hiccup come March 1st, when we're kind of scrambling trying to solve something. So please forward those to any of us, actually.
Correct.
And we'll get those sorted out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Darren. So we covered the airport, team track. Anything new?
No report.
New East-West Parkway?
No report there.
No report. Public transportation, there's no one here. Just as a closing, thank you for, we're getting this new bridge dedicated, and it's a reality now. But there's a lot of city council members that were involved in this, the chambers of commerce that were involved in with this from years and years ago, that somehow or another we got to bring some recognition to. The council members, the mayors, the different mayors, Bernie Hillerman, the council members that voted to, take a leap of faith on doing studies. Dick Stratman on Highway 100. Fundings. Yes, Bill.
Bill, before we lose any other members, I'd like to offer a motion that this committee go on record in thanking Judy Wagner for her cooperation and her guidance in the bridge project and other projects in Franklin County.
Exactly. Second. All in favor? Aye. You bet.
Thank
Judy.
you.
Thank you. You betcha.
And I think the mayor ought to write a letter to MoDOT director telling him what a fine job Judy has done for us.
And previous,
So,
not to take any wind away from Judy, but we had some great, Dan Nick, and a couple of other ones before that that really did a great job for the city of Washington. Judy's done the most, but
Lately.
we've been fortunate. We've been fortunate.
So Judy Wagner.
In the future.
Yeah.
That'll mean a lot, no.
Anyway, that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Any other items? You guys can see the monies collected. We're up, we hit the $25 million mark last time, and we're now up another 136,000, so we're at 25,136,000 with 12 and a half years to go, 12 years to go. That's great. Darren, how much of the actual fund of debt is still out there on 47? How much, or not on 47, on 100? When you talk about the debt itself,
It goes out to 2030.
it goes out to 2030, but I mean, how much actual debt is there?
I'd have to go back and check
That's
the
okay,
actual
I just
number.
It's backloaded.
But it was.
Yeah, because there's some
Backloaded, so
big payments at the very
It's got
end.
huge payments coming up,
Yes.
backloaded.
So that's, I was listening to the conversation about 47, and that's, I know that we're not on a 25-year plan like Judy had talked about, or something along that far out. But, that tax ends in 2030. And so if you want to see some improvements and continue to go ahead and do something with that tax, I'm way ahead of the game, but you guys are talking down the road as well. But that's something that we need to take a look at. Because if we don't have that revenue source, how are you ever going to match funds to go ahead and do something on 47, et cetera? But right now, but that was specifically told to the voters at that time, that this was for 100 and for maintenance of the city streets.
Right.
And we have done that, and I think anytime you want you want the city to put our list of stuff of what we've accomplished with that sales tax
Right.
as it becomes relevant. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I mean, anytime that we feel that we need to go out and show the voters and say, this is what we've done with your half-cent sales tax for street improvements, we can give you a list a mile long.
To that, I would just add that the city was awarded the 3rd Street STP from Jefferson to 47. That's curb and gutter, new sidewalks, and new pavement. I believe 2022 is the construction of that. So, just a little plug.
Yes, since our last meeting, October 31st, the board approved everything, so.
Very good. That's all I have. Hearing any other items to go over? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
2022.
I'll wait here. What's the scope of that project?
Wow.
47?
That's like a deal.
Third Street?
It's a big deal.
Where does the Third Street job start?
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Jefferson, the 47.
To be at that commission meeting Wednesday?